Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Gurudev. All glories to Samud Vaishnava devotees. And all glories to His Grace, Palaka Prabhu. Today we're very much blessed. We have His Grace, Palaka Prabhu, who will be speaking to us. Palaka Prabhu, I usually address him as Vasudev. I give him so many names because we all know Vasudev is the father of Krishna and Balaram. So he is the father of Krishna Balaram. He has twin beautiful boys, and they called Krishna Balaram. And sometimes I address him as brother also, because his dad's name is Pandu, and I'm Sahadev. He is very difficult to get hold of because he's quite a busy young man. But somehow, by Guru Krishna's grace, we have his association today. So, Palaka Prabhu, we're very much grateful that you were able to make time with us today. And without taking much of your time, we're going to put the verse on the screen, and then you take it over from here. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if you want to share it from your end or you want me to share it on the screen.
If I could, I'll share from my side.
Okay, then you share it, please.
Okay.
You can do that. You have the rights to do that.
Good. Okay. This. Okay, you can hear me okay? Just to confirm. Can everybody hear me okay? Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, you got me? Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I got myself muted.
So. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
So it was good seeing you the other day at Mother Vilas's birthday celebration.
That was beautiful, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
It was quite the festival. They have a fantastic family and such a good example of devotee and community development.
Yes.
And the fact that you traveled in with the whole crew and always have such it just makes it a party when you're there. So I
no, this time it's about you, please.
No. No. It's just good to see the sangha of devotees, and I appreciate everybody on this call with me right now as we go over SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 43. If people don't mind, I'll probably just jump right into it. And then later on, if anybody has any questions, comments, please feel free to, I think they have a raising hand option here, and I'm definitely willing to, hear feedback, comments, realizations that you may have. But yeah, just because I'm short on time, I'm gonna get right into it. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dirayet. Okay. 2943. Tushtam Nishamya Pitaram Lokanam Prapati Maham Devarshi Paripaprachaha Bhavanya Manu Prichati. Synonyms: Tushtam, satisfied; Nishamya, after seeing; Pitaram, the father; Lokanam, of the whole universe; Prapati Maham, the great grandfather; Devarshihi, the great sage Narada; Pai papracha, inquired. Bhavan, yourself. Yat, as it is. Ma, from me. Anu prichati, inquiring. Translation. The great sage Narada also inquired in detail from his father, Brahma, the great-grandfather of all the universe. After seeing him well satisfied. Purport. The process of understanding spiritual or transcendental knowledge from the realized person is not exactly like an ordinary person or ordinary question from the schoolmaster. The schoolmaster in modern days are paid agents for giving some information, but the spiritual master is not a paid agent, nor can he impart instruction without being authorized. In the Bhagavad Gita, the process of understanding transcendental knowledge is directed as follows. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Arjuna was advised to receive transcendental knowledge from the realized person by surrender, question, and service. Receiving transcendental knowledge is not like exchanging dollars. Such knowledge has to be received by service to the spiritual master. As Brahmaji received the knowledge directly from the Lord by satisfying him fully, similarly, one has to receive the transcendental knowledge from the spiritual master by satisfying him. The spiritual master's satisfaction is the means of assimilating transcendental knowledge. One cannot understand transcendental knowledge simply by becoming a grammarian. The Vedas declare, Yasya deva para bhaktir yata deva tata gurau, tasyaite katita yartaha, prakashante mahatmanaha. Only unto one who has unflinching devotion to the Lord and to the spiritual master does transcendental knowledge become automatically revealed. Shvetashvara Upanishad 6:23. Such relationships between the disciple and the spiritual master is eternal. One who is now the disciple is the next spiritual master, and one cannot be a bona fide and authorized spiritual master unless one has been strictly obedient to his spiritual master. Brahmaji, as a disciple of the Supreme Lord, received the real knowledge and imparted it to his dear disciple Narada. And similarly, Narada, as the spiritual master, handed over this knowledge to Vyasa, and so on. Therefore, the so-called formal spiritual master and the disciples are not facsimiles of Brahma and Narada, or Narada and Vyasa. The relationship between Brahma and Narada is reality, while the so-called formality is the relationship between the cheater and the cheated. It is clearly mentioned herewith that Narada is not only well-behaved, meek, and obedient, but also self-controlled. One who is not self-controlled, specifically in sex life, can become neither a disciple nor a spiritual master. One must have disciplinary training in controlling speaking, anger, the tongue, the mind, the belly, and the genitals. One who has controlled the particular senses mentioned above is called Goswami. Without being a Goswami, one can become neither a disciple nor a spiritual master. The so-called spiritual master, without sense control, is certainly the cheater. And disciple of such a so-called spiritual master is the cheated. One should not think of Brahmaji as a dead great-grandfather. As we have experienced on this planet, he is the oldest great-grandfather, and he is still living. And Narada is also living. The age of the inhabitants of Brahmaloka planet is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. The inhabitants of this small earthly, the inhabitants of this small planet Earth can hardly calculate even the duration of one day of Brahma. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshor Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Vasai Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Namine. Namaste Krishna Vidaya Prabhupada Shri Tatmane Shri Gora Kurum Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Swami Namine. Namo Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Vasai Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Bracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Pastratyare Shatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. The great sage Narada also inquired in detail from his father Brahma, the great grandfather of all the universe, after seeing him well satisfied. So 3 points I picked up from the purport. There's a lot in this purport, but I would say 3 main points that I gathered were Prabhupada really delineating and making a distinction between different forms of relationships of teachers and students, the cheaters and the cheated, and then those who have a real relationship with an authorized guru, and that relationship is of a eternal nature, right? So cheaters and cheated, then we have the eternal. And then there was an emphasis on having self-control, making sure that the guru and the disciple are self-controlled. And then he also throws in some jabs at the modern day colonized mind of thinking through the spectacles of modern materialist scientists by talking about Lord Brahma and talking about the limitations of our knowledge. And so the key word here is knowledge, right? It's how we actually attain knowledge. How do we get knowledge? How can we understand anything? What to speak of the deepest elements, the deepest aspects of existence itself. And so he's saying that if you serve, surrender, serve, then question. There's so many stories that go along with this paradigm. Every guru disciple relationship is going to have this element if it's going to have any level of success. Now, we understand that with knowledge, how do you actually process knowledge? How do you get knowledge while we're still stuck in these bodies that Mother Durga controls, right? These physical bodies, the Vedas describe as a prison house for us, based off of the 5 senses. We'll get into that a little bit later. But Prabhupada was mentioning that, how we have to be self-controlled in a certain way. But what makes this human form of life so spectacular, is that we have the ability to understand the difference between 2 major categories. And I put a couple slides together to walk through, so you don't have to look at my face the whole time. But first, let's see what Lord Krishna says about knowledge. And the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse 3, he tells Arjuna in a very humble way, he says, "You should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies, and to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion." Then Lord Krishna says, "I am the knower of the field of activities in every individual body." So I thought it was interesting that, Srila Prabhupada ended this purport with a punch into the face to our modern conception of existence and who can live the longest and all that. But we understand that we're living in a universe that is extremely, extremely old, and no one knows how it is operating, let alone those who think that we're just made up of physical particles. There's a lot of interesting developments in today's society that are leading to destruction and a lot more speculation on the future of society. And I think that those who are on this call, those who are actually partaking the message of SRIMAD Bhagavatam, they have a key role to play into transforming the consciousness on this planet. But we need to understand what we're going against, what's actually happening, not just from a collective point of view, but also from an individual point of view. And many times they go hand in hand, right? So the first premise is, what is knowledge? So Krishna is very clearly saying here, understanding the knower of activities, understanding the field of activities, and who's doing what is doing what's your relationship to what. So piggybacking off my last class that we had on Hare Krishna Africa, we were talking about the power of intelligence, right? That's what makes this body so unique, better than the animals, is understanding the intelligence. So the intelligence can take all that data and consolidate it into very clean buckets, clean categories. Bhagavatam says it can actually ascertain the nature of that which is when it's properly directed. So the best director is Srimad Bhagavatam, and we hear Bhagavatam from the pure devotees. So it says that there's three things that we can understand. It's Paramatma, or the super soul, the absolute truth, right here. It's yourself, the witness, and then we have Prakriti, or material nature, Mother Nature, everything that's composing of a temporary element, a temporary experience that we have. So there's this big push on, what are we actually focusing on? What are we actually conscious of? Sahade was saying, oh, my sons are Krishna and Balaram, so sometimes he calls me Vasudeva. It reminded me of the time of when the actual Vasudeva was trying to save his wife, Devaki, from her brother Kamsa. And the star of the shloka that we're reading, Narada, on the day of their wedding, told Kamsa, King Kamsa, that, hey, you're going to be killed by their 8th child. Where did Narada get that knowledge from? Well, we're reading about it. So when Vasudeva was trying to convince his brother-in-law not to kill, not to harm his wife, so that Lord Krishna's pastimes could take place, he mentions that you shouldn't be concerned with death, as we are dying at every moment. At every second we are dying. Every time we are moving, we are getting a different configuration, a different field of activities, kshetra. These kshetras, like the Battle of Kurukshetra, it's given to us with different forms of prakriti, physical and subtle. We are identifying with our body as the knower of the body, but then our senses are extending what we feel is ours due to our ego. So I feel like I have sons. I feel like I have a laptop. I feel like I have all these things. This is mine. This is mine. And it starts extending, starts extending, it starts extending. Before I had nothing. Now, oh, I'm American. I am this. I am that. It keeps on just the tree of knowledge or the tree of ignorance. But Vasudeva is saying, you're dying at every moment. Please understand this. We're all here because These physical bodies are only caused by the mind. So it's the mind chasing what? He says, chasing 5 objects. Kamsa, these bodies are just chasing 5 objects. Again, consolidated. Objects that you can hear, objects that you can smell, objects that you can taste, etc. And we're being captivated by it. And we're being allured by it. And we're being put into a never-ending Groundhog's Day-like scenario for those who have seen that movie. It was a movie where a guy ends up waking up and playing out the same day every single day. And he's just like, hold on, what is going on? He's trying to figure it out. But at the end of the day, he wakes up and he has to repeat the same day again. When we're not connected to the absolute truth with devotion, it's not much different than that. We're constantly being put to sleep. We're constantly being awoken. When we are in between states, something is providing us the ability to perceive and to be conscious of the dream state and to be conscious of the awake state. We're witnessing both. And the sun keeps on going up and down. And we're being conditioned by happiness and distress, happiness and distress, happiness and distress. It causes such a conditioning that it many times can make us act as if we are not ourselves. And especially when we're associating with that ego, it's one of those things that makes us care and makes us become attached to everything that we're trying to grasp in terms of goals, in terms of social prestige, in terms of happiness, money, fame, etc. It's all trying to keep this character that we have alive and happy, even though all of those different things that are based off the temporary nature are going to disappear. So when we're looking at this chart, when you see the super soul, Paramatma, on one side, and you see Prakriti on another side, we can look at this as 2 other buckets. This could be the eternal, and this can be the temporary. And so Prakriti comes out and fans out from our consciousness. And I think this is important because when Prabhupada's throwing that jab to the modern day conceptions, we all have that materialist philosophy inside of us. We have to wipe it clean and understand that our reality is from the internal out, not the outside in. It's a very important point. And just doing a little more research, I always heard Srila Prabhupada saying that, but I'd never really looked at the materialist philosophy. But there's a real philosophy. It's not just, oh, yeah, your body, but it's actually how they look at it. And when you start understanding it, if most of society actually understood what they were saying, they would all call them ridiculous beyond then the point of you're not your body. But what we're seeing is this. We're all looking at this quote unquote reality very similar to this image of this cube, where what part is the front side? What part is front? What's the closest face of this cube to us? What's the front? I was discussing this with someone yesterday, and a big disagreement came about. They were like, no, this is it. And everybody else asking, there was a different answer. Now, what's the reality? There is no front. This is just a flat dotted lines together. However, our consciousness is putting that depth into it. It's putting that depth into it that we're experiencing. Now, due to the 3 modes, based off of the ego that we have, based off of the character that we've developed, we're going to see it in a certain way. So let this be an example of the reality that we are in, trying to gain knowledge. So this knowledge has that source, right? I'm using this Bhagavan slide because Bhagavan has all knowledge, all fame, all opulence, renunciation, beauty, knowledge, strength. So he is the source of all knowledge. And so when Srila Prabhupada is talking about when you serve the guru who's connected in this authorized chain of disciplic succession, going back to Krishna and you're pleasing him, practicing that level of devotion, this knowledge becomes assimilated into your consciousness. So when we're looking at this reality, so this box right here at the top is a little diagram of how we look at our day-to-day decision-making process, right? What we're going to eat, when we're going to sleep, what job we're going to take. Now, based off of what mode we're in, it's going to automatically prioritize one of those faces. It's goodness, just representing it as yellow, since the Vedas associated with that color, red, passion, and blue, ignorance. The point is, you are going to prioritize. Once you have an experience, you're presented, your field of activity is in front of you. Your kshetra is occurring every moment. And how are you actually seeing that decision-making process? Well, you're going to be forced into a decision. You're going to have to wear glasses, some type of glasses called one of the three modes that is going to make you prioritize your decision-making capability. Everybody's going through this. Which part's the front, which part's the back? Now, I think let's see if this makes sense, but one point that I would like to draw upon is when we talk about decision making, when we talk about goal oriented, because we think about teachers, what are the teachers for? Teachers are typically trying to teach you something in order to get some level of knowledge, to reach some level of a goal, get some type of achievement. But what is it, right? Where are you going to? Everybody needs to have some level of goal in their life in order to move forward. But as we are approaching this moment, right here, let's say this square, the same one that this red face is highlighted right now, but for this box, let's say this corner right here is where we are when we're trying to make a decision process. It's that immediate moment, Now, when we're in goodness, typically we're going to have a period of delayed gratification in regards to time before a level of enjoyment occurs. And this is just for material activities. What to speak of when we're on a spiritual path, right? When we're trying to go for the highest goal. Now with passion, it's immediate enjoyment. It's immediate enjoyment. So right here, the time factor is none. It's, hey, you have that cookie in front of you. You have whatever that 5 object in front of you that you want to enjoy, that you want to act as if you are Paramatma, and you want to be the enjoyer, then it's, hey, let me take it now. Let me get it right now, because it may not be there for me in the future. If I'm not able to enjoy now, who knows? I don't know what the future holds, so let me take it now. It's that mentality. It's that relationship, because Prakriti is all powered by Paramatma. Now it's our intelligence that's allowing us to make these decisions that are going to put us further in ignorance or bring us further towards the light of the authorized teachers. Now, the guru is internally manifested as Paramatma, and because we're in these shackles, externally manifested as the guru. So he's constantly with us, trying to teach us the difference between the temporary and the eternal, trying to guide us into how can you be yourself? How can you be the person you truly are meant to be, full of happiness, bliss, and knowledge, and a loving relationship? And so when we're looking at this, We have to see, even if somebody doesn't have any faith in Bhagavatam, any faith in the devotional process, they still have to ask, we're stuck in this matrix. Some reason we are forced upon relationships. We're forced upon, as a baby, to be completely dependent on the mother. Then the mother's serving the child for 18 years, if not longer. Today's age, much longer. And there's anytime we want to get anything done, we have to approach a teacher. So then we just have to stack rank all of those goals. Which one will bring me the longest happiness, the most eternal happiness, or the closest to? Because that's something we always want. But we have to see, where do these buckets belong? And because time is devouring everyone, where's my time best spent while I have this human form of life? So again, this diagram for those, it's what level of tapasya is engaged in your activity. Srila Prabhupada said, when he was talking about America back then, he was saying that you guys have a very powerful civilization right now because you perform so much tapasya. It's a part of life. Tapasya is austerities. It's a delayed gratification. When Lord Brahma was trying to figure out what to do at the beginning of creation, see, Lord Brahma is the guna avatar of Rajagun, so he's the creator. Every time we are seeing any creation, such as a new day, a new moment, a new anything, we can think about the teachings of Lord Brahma that he's constantly giving us. But the first words he heard was tapa. Through that tapa, he meditated on the absolute truth, and the absolute truth told him the Chatur Shloki of SRIMAD Bhagavatam. Give him the seed verses. During that section, Lord Krishna says, hey, penance, tapasya is how I create, tapasya is how I destroy, and tapasya is how I maintain. If you remember, one of Krishna's opulences is renunciation. He says, through tapasya, everything is maintained. It's non-different from myself. Now, we're so conditioned by thinking, hey, if I don't take this moment now, oh my gosh, that cheesecake looks so good, I need to eat it. Or whatever your vice is, right? If you can delay, try to regulate. Try to. You might not be perfect, but take steps towards. Use your intelligence to see how you can get better and better every day, because time is ticking. And we don't know what our next life is going to be, what the future is going to hold. So Srila Prabhupada was talking to the people in America, and he was just like, look, you guys are tigers right now, but use your time wisely, because you might be mice in the future. And there's that famous story of how there was a mouse that went to the sage and said, hey, if I can only be a cat, if I just had the blessing to be a cat, then all my problems would be solved. Then it becomes the cat. Oh, if I can only be a dog, then all my problems will be solved. And he keeps on going through one species to another species. And every time he finds another problem. And then he eventually wants to eat the person who was giving him the blessings. We see this in spiritual life also. We see those who try to take to the path of devotion, and then they say, okay, once I perfect that devotion, then I will be that person that I am worshiping, and I will no longer need them anymore. I've seen it many times on YouTube. And I'm just like, whoa, did you just say that out loud? But it happens. It's that mentality, right? But it's because we keep on trying to be who we are not. Prabhupada says for society, for peace in human society, there are 3 things that everyone should know to create global peace. It's 1, that Krishna, the absolute truth, is the proprietor of all businesses, all activities. 2 is that he he is the supreme enjoyer of all actions, of all activities. And 3, he is your dearmost best friend, always in your heart as the guru. But right now, society's being taught, the Brahmins of this day, because we're under mode of ignorance in this age, Kali Yuga, the Brahmins of this day are saying, again, fake Brahmins, fake teachers, are saying, this all comes from the mode of ignorance. There is nothing here to see. And they're right now trying to prove that your consciousness in and of itself does not exist, that it's an illusion that's just coming from some chemical reaction that they can't explain. But they're saying they're pretty sure that's what it is. It's foolish to teach, but it's dangerous when you have a society that is having leaders teaching that to all of the generation, creating a sense of hopelessness, a sense of nihilism. And then if you have the wrong leaders in charge, if they need to get rid of some people, they'll see it as no big deal because there's nothing there anyway. They're no different than an AI robot, right? They'll just say, hey, you came from nothing. You're nothing. You came from nothing. You're just an accident. I'm an accident, but I have power. Put society in a very dangerous path. That's why Lord Krishna is saying, I've created this social order, Varnashram Dharma, in order for people to understand that they should try to have some level of tapasya within human life to rise them from ignorance to goodness, ultimately to see a divine relationship within their life. But right now, that's not happening. So, sorry for the eye chart here. Let me see if I can get this a little larger. But these are some stats. Our future generation, due to the addictions that are occurring, not even from drugs, but from the phone, mental illness among college teens, skyrocketing. Major depression among teens, skyrocketing. Anxiety prevalence by age, skyrocketing. Now, and then mental illness, I have that one. So one interesting point here is from 2010 to 2015. You know, we knew after the pandemic that a lot of mental illnesses were going to rise. But if you look, this is 2010 to 2015, major increases of mental illness occurred and depression. 145%, 134%. And you can see substance abuse is actually lower. But they're saying that this is due to the smartphones, due to the apps, where they have scientists now that are making these phones more addictive than nicotine, more addictive than heroin. And it's destroying. It's like society is in an unknown territory. And we're letting the young shrivel away. This technology is so powerful, and it's just getting more and more absorption into it, where girls, especially due to social media, are being destroyed, and boys, video games, pornography are being destroyed. It's when you look into it, it's insane. But again, what do they have? If all they have is trying to get knowledge through likes and all these other images that are coming, before the major catastrophes of the world were not at their fingertips. Now it's being pumped through them. All these major, they call it catastrophizing events, are occurring. This is due to not having that core value of putting the words of the guru in the center of society, which are align your life in a regulated way towards the service of the absolute truth. So we have a big role to play here. And that's why Varnashram, coming from those 3 modes, are so very important. So So when we're looking at this, the three modes are creating these different varnas and ashrams when properly situated. Now, of course, we don't have it anywhere near where it should be today. However, there's still aspects of it. It doesn't disappear. It's just in a sickly state. And so one thing, this one book I was reading about the issues of the mental illnesses that are occurring, it's just because people are not being socialized anymore. They're not having not only the right type of sangha, which would be friends in the mode of goodness and devotees, but they're not having sangha at all. And the samskara practices that were occurring in societies are now being withdrawn from also. And so all of this has been given from our acharyas on how to create strong communities in order to buttress people from the negative effects of various technologies and illnesses that could attack if we don't have that proper shelter, that proper ashram. So as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. So we were talking about goals earlier. On the left-hand side are the three modes. Ideal being goodness, possible being passion, impossible being ignorance. Our physical body is in the impossible realm. It's ignorance. Mode of passion is possible. Where is the intelligence going to take you? Is it going to choose the path of goodness, transcendence, going to choose the path of ignorance? And then ideal is goodness, where Lord Vishnu is pure goodness. So it then goes into, if we could zoom in to this dot right here, which is actually at the center of all of our activities, whether we realize it or not, it opens up a whole new world, whole new realm of the absolute truth that's always been existing, is always there. Brahman, Paramatman, Bhagavan. And so the teachers that we have in our life for the goals that we're trying to reach, which bucket do they align in? But not only which bucket do they align in, but when you're dealing with the authorized guru and the disciplic succession, where's their realization? Are they in the impersonal camp, where it's a limited level of service? Paramatma, or they go in Bhagavan? Where is it? Again, as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. So as you are interacting with the modes, you're also getting a relationship there. It's going to affect your mentality. It's going to force you to put one of these three glasses on. As you engage in devotional service, you enter into this realm of the eternal. Because when you're dealing with the eternal, Paramatma, those activities are never lost. Those activities are never lost. So make sure that we're fitting our goals into one of these buckets. And Lord Brahma is saying, there's nothing here. There's nothing here to see. It's all here. It's all with Lord Krishna. It's all with the absolute truth. Sometimes it's difficult to see, but you can see the truth even with the three modes on how it's getting you from ignorance, stepping stone passion, stepping stone to goodness, where you're delaying your gratification, getting a better result. But then it's just like, hey, if you're tying yourself into that internal portion of yourself, into the relationship with the super soul, with the guru in the heart, serving, you don't have to chase the external. You don't have to chase those 5 objects all the time. And you start seeing that the happiness is internal. The kingdom of God is within you. And so this is what they're describing in terms of that knowledge, is the spiritual is here, and then we're just seeing the reflection of the ideal, the possible, and the impossible here. And it's all coming from desire. Now, when we think about guru, we have to think about Lord Balaram, because it says that he is the first expansion from Krishna, and he is that strength, that eternality of Lord Krishna. So he's the original guru, being the foundation of all pastimes, eternally and temporary. So thinking about the expansions of Balaram, how Lord Vishnu expands as a super soul. These are all facilitated. Thus, we can, in one sense, we can look at life down to the atom as an expansion of teachings and meanings to help us connect our divine relationship, remember our divine relationship, and saying, why engage with something that is so ignorant that that's not happy in the beginning or in the end? Something that is, why engage with something that's happy now, but then brings frustration, anger, and greed later? Or even, hey, a happiness that does bring happiness and knowledge and goodness, but it's temporary. Why not connect to that eternal source and see our path, our guru parampara is so powerful that there's even deeper knowledge in regards to aspects of the absolute truth. And so the Goswamis have allowed us to have vision of when Lord Balaram has the mood, has the energy of the absolute truth, and a mood of distributing that divine love. What is that? That's Nityananda. And in the book Sri Guru and His Grace, he actually says, hey, this Nityananda is the original Guru. And this is part of our Guru Parampara. And they describe Gauranga as a dynamo, which wants to distribute Krishna surcharge with most magnanimous, intensified pity and kindness for the ordinary people, with the greatest affection, even for the criminals. How lovely is that? That the chain that we're in is not just trying to say, hey, do this, do that, do this. And hey, if you make it, you make it. You don't, you don't. But they're running here throughout Kali Yuga via SRIMAD and distributing the highest of all love, the highest of all goals. Krishna Prema, divine love, being the highest goal. And therefore, he says, because that is the highest goal we can ever have, therefore, since Nityananda is the one that's madly distributing it, he is the original guru of us all. Srila Prabhupada said, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. He says, you become a spiritual master. How? I have no qualification. No, you just accept my order. So what is your order, sir? Yare deka tare kaha Krishna upadesha. You simply speak the instruction of Krishna. Whoever you meet, then you become a spiritual master. So we have such a blessing to try to help others in the mood that we see our acharyas have done, how they have sacrificed their life. But it is on us to act out in a certain way that makes our gurus proud by becoming self-controlled, by being like Narada Muni, by serving and pleasing the guru, by connecting them into the divine service of Sri Krishna. As Lord Krishna says, to those who are constantly devoted to serving me, with love, I give them understanding by which they can come to me. Thank you for your time. Any questions? I have a couple minutes left.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a wonderful katha with visual illustration about what you're sharing with us all. Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, realizations, please, you may indicate by using the hand emoji or physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to speak. Well, Prabhuji, if I may start by saying big thank you to you for being here and also sharing your love and wisdom with us. But I have this question about Lord Guranga being magnanimous. Um, we know from our acharyas and from the scriptures how magnanimous Lord Chaitanya was, and I believe he still is. But I think he could have done more in the sense that Lord Chaitanya wishes to see all of us go back to Godhead. And so he instructed his uh, associates, specifically the six Goswamis, as you have on the screen, to write books and educate the world the process of going back home. But even with all these things, we still realize how difficult it is because Maya is so strong, it's so powerful. So, since Lord Chaitanya is so magnanimous, couldn't it have been better that Gauranga asks Maya to weaken her attacks on the conditioned souls while the conditioned souls are trying their best to render service? But Maya is still working as hard as ever. And in this way, we, the conditioned souls, as much as we struggle to do the best, our best never gets anywhere close. I mean, you are not Goranga, but I'm just asking your mind, wouldn't it have been better Goranga somehow weakens Maya in this age of Kali, that he does not become so influential on all of us? I'm struggling, and that's why I'm asking.
Well, if you're struggling, then what's happened to me? Because you're enthusing me with your daily activities. So every time I see these, I'm just like, wow, another Bhagavatam class that you're facilitating. So no, it reminds me of one of the questions that was asked to Srila Prabhupada, where they were talking about, why didn't Lord Chaitanya just go all around the world and establish everything, right? And he could have done it. He could have, but Lord Krishna is always trying to glorify his devotees. And if he would have done everything, then it just would have been about him. And then how would Bhagavatam continue? Right? Because Bhagavatam is the illustrious life and glories of the devotees, of the pure devotees, of the devotees that are having such an amazing story. And this Leela that we're in via Lord Chaitanya is amazing, right? And so we see the ups and downs. It has to be a good story. It can't just be all bliss all the time, right? Because then where's the adventure in that story? And so I think it's Lord Chaitanya leaving it up to us to figure out where the gaps are, where our adversaries are approaching, right? And we're talking about this is Kali Yuga, so we're in the most violent of ages, we're the most peaceful. Right? We have to take the example of Lord Nityananda, but we have to see, hey, who can we assist? Who can we tell this message to? And then let Krishna take the rest. Let Lord Chaitanya, let Lord Nityananda do the rest. As long as we're trying to adhere to the best of our abilities to the instruction of Guru and constantly trying to engage our intelligence. That's what Srila Prabhupada said enthusiasm is the same. Constantly engaging our intelligence is the definition of enthusiasm. So how do we do this? But most importantly, how do we do this collectively, right? How can we make each other individually strong, but then come together as groups, as little Varnashram communities, and then expand out from there? Because even a business has Varnashram in it. And so we're always stronger together. This world is a world where we have to eat other living entities to survive. It's not a place for a civilized person. So in many senses, it is a strong survive. And so how can we strengthen ourselves with other like-minded people? And it could even be alliances that are not 100% aligned. Like I was reading something about the materialist scientists, but now there's other scientists that are saying, hey, not quoting, but referring to the Vasudeva Kamsa story, saying, no, we have enough evidence now to prove, or to at least come to a conclusion that this whole world is coming from an element called mind. And they're not devotees. And they're very well established in science, and they're writing books. And so it's like, oh, they're finally getting there. How do we adopt some of that message there? And we just strengthen ourselves and strengthen ourselves and strengthen ourselves, and we get more and more followers, and understanding that Srila Prabhupada said we have to make the holy name of Sri Krishna. We need to be able to explain it in a scientific way. That means in every aspect of life, from economics to physiology to everything. It's going to be established and put forward. And so which devotees are going to do that? There's so many servers that are going to be needed, and it's exciting to see how this will continue to evolve. So I don't know if that answered, but I feel like the fact that Lord Chaitanya didn't do that means that there's going to be a even more exciting story with current and future generation of devotees that will come, looking at the classes that you're recording and the services that you're doing and the family that you're creating and the memories that you're having with everyone, right? And we're all taking part in that to glorify Krishna's name, because all of those energies, all the pastimes, including what we were talking about with Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, that's there. It's all there in the name. And so it's where are we putting him? Where are we putting Srila Prabhupada? Where are we putting Guru? Where are we putting our consciousness in order to live that day by day?
Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji. But it was interesting how in the beginning of your deliberation, you were talking about the nature of this material world. Just yesterday, I was listening to one radio station, and they were talking about one particular individual. He is an Indian by birth, but he holds some sort of high degree in chemistry. And so he's written a book, and the title of the book is Why We Die. And it's kind of very interesting. I mean, anybody can try to get hold of that book and try to read it. But he was explaining that scientists are trying their best to put an end to living beings dying. But to him, it is impossible. The best we can do is probably to extend our life and reduce the aging. And this guy was describing that we started to die the very moment we become fetus in our mother's womb. And I was thinking to myself, this is exactly what the Vedas says. So how did this scientist and his group get to know about this? So my question is, in today's world of science, there are lots of discoveries, lots of theories that are out there, and sometimes you begin to ask yourself whether these scientists actually discovered these theories or these things they're talking about, or they're just borrowing from the Vedas. And
Exactly.
not borrowing from the Vedas, and they are actually studying and knowing about these things. Then how do we say that if one does not approach a spiritual master from the disciplic succession, there is no possibility of such a soul attaining knowledge about the Supreme Lord.
Yeah. So it's a good point, right? Because there's a lot of scientists that are actually borrowing from Vedanta in many ways. In many ways, I mean, even the person I'm referring to is Bernard Kastrup, and one thing that he always gets asked during the interviews is like, "Hey, are you reading the Vedas? Because your theories sound very similar to Vedanta." And he's just like, "No, that was just a coincidence." You know, he was like, "That was a coincidence." And then, you know, he puts his own speculation into it. So it's like he'll get so much right. I'm like, oh yes, this is just like the Sankhya and Bhagavatam. This is just like Sankhya and Bhagavatam. This is just like, and I'm like following. I'm like, yes. And then it just goes way off track all of a sudden. You know, it's just like, hold on, where'd you get that from? You know? And so it's a little better, right? It's better than where the materialist scientists are, right? He's at least at the subtle level. But then once he gets into the subtle level, 10 feet in, then all the speculation starts coming again, right? And he's talking from, the mind, and then all of a sudden he's saying, oh yeah, so that's where evolution comes from, and da 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 da. And it's just like, you're almost there, only if you had some more guidance. The issue is we're running out of time, right? And so some people are going to get information, like Srila Prabhupada said.
May you close your shared screen so we may see your face? Please.
Good. And so it's interesting because he was saying that, the Americans, they actually did tapasya, right? And Lord Vishnu in this chapter saying, I am tapasya, basically. I am tapasya. And so it's just like, they are going to get knowledge. And remember, the mode of goodness is not, they're not saying it's fake knowledge. They're saying it's knowledge. It's just, it's not gonna last. Right? You're one step away from being a mouse again. Right. And so it's just like while I think of like the mode of goodness is, well, we're all drowning within these modes. It's the goodness is just, it brings a clarity, a little bit of a peacefulness. So you can look out of the water and be like, oh, there's something more here than just drowning all the time. But you have to go. You have to go. If not, there's a chance that we're gonna get caught back in it. And so since we don't have enough time, yeah, people could speculate, and some people could get pretty far in their speculations on Sankhya. I mean, if you think about Sankhya, there's a whole atheistic, Lord Kapila taught Sankhya and Bhagavatam. There's a whole atheistic school of Sankhya that's 99% the same, except they don't have Paramatma. Right? They don't have Paramatma within their equation. And so, there's a huge limitation. It's like, what do you have if you have everything right, but your relationship with the absolute truth? It is what's there. And so as we do tapasyas, we will get knowledge. I mean, it's amazing how many people in the corporate world I see that are extremely successful. What are they doing? Controlling their tongue, controlling their diet, waking up at 4. They have their own process. It's like, wow, like you're almost doing yoga. In one sense, they are. It's just there's no guru, right? And so it's how do we connect? And that's why I think, the ending part of my presentation I was trying to do was, as people develop those relationships, you can get past the 3 modes, but you'll just be an infinite light, right? There's no real relationship there. But then Paramatma and then Krishna, and then going to Nityananda, Balaram, and like Lord Chaitanya, it's like that takes different levels of knowledge. And if you get access to those levels of knowledge within your consciousness based off of that connection, and how do we get it? It has to be through Guru and through the process. But then we start seeing that knowledge is actually right in front of our face as we gain that knowledge, right? So once that knowledge assimilates, we're like, oh, it's always been here. I just didn't see it before. And so
well, thank you so much for sharing that. It's very interesting the way you explained it. So it appears like 2 people may be doing the same thing, but actually they are not the same. They may be similar. They are not the same because one is connected to the Paramatma and the other is not connected to the Paramatma. Yes, again, I was listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was also propounding some beautiful theory. I said, wow. And he was saying that, do you know that there are so many people who have to be taking birth in this world, but they will not be able to take birth in this world because they are not privileged. And he gave the number of people. I will have to look for it again. But all I'm trying to say is it's interesting how mundane science appears to be very, very close to Vedic teachings, but because they miss the link with the super soul, it's never the same. But if I may go back to the text and the purport, and if I may put it up on the screen,
yes,
I would like to ask a question from the purport. Srila Prabhupada stated that, excuse me, the spiritual master's satisfaction is the means of assimilating transcendental knowledge. Of course, it says one cannot understand the transcendental knowledge simply by becoming a grammarian. Now, if the means of assimilating transcendental knowledge is satisfying the spiritual master, and here is the case, a disciple has his spiritual master asking him to engage in something which the disciple feels incapable of doing, and therefore is unable to please the spiritual master. Then how does he become able to assimilate to transcendental knowledge in order to be able to do what is best for himself and for the ability of serving the guru?
Can you, great question. Can you
Guru
expound
is,
upon incapable?
yeah, it's incapable.
Like, meaning like it's actually impossible, or or it's.
For example,
I have an example for that in terms of
okay,
incapable, but I still have a glimmer of hope. so Gurudev, before he passed, one of his last, Gita Nagari lectures,
yeah,
hit me so hard. It was just like, he goes, and to everyone in this room, or all my disciples, there is no excuse for you not to control your senses in this lifetime, right? and that's one reason why I meditate on the modes a little bit, because I'm like, okay, so if I control my tongue, controls my belly, like how does this all work? It's but the more I've gone, of course, nowhere near it. But I'm like, when he first said it, I was like, incapable, definitely incapable category. Definitely, that's way out there. I'm definitely putting that in the incapable category, right? But now I'm like, oh, okay. If I, with Guru's help, I do see a path now. when he first said it, literally, my conscience was like, incapable. But now I'm like, oh, I see it. Not there yet, but I see it. And now I have the choice, to take it, to accept or reject. The path that Guru lays out. Hey, do you go here or do you go there? Where is that going to lead in the next 5 years? Where is that going to lead in the next 10 years? How is that going to help you on your path? I think that is, I definitely feel like that's one of those incapable things, but I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please go on with your.
No. I think you're right. I mean, the reason I was asking, and I'm still asking this question, is because as disciples, one of our main goals is to please and serve and satisfy Gurudev. But there may come a point in time that our gurus may ask us to do something which to us, like I said, we may be incapable of doing. For example, and I do not want to mention names, but we have 2 or more gurus in ISKCON who say that if you are a disciple of them and you are not prepared to serve on the altar, then you're not going to be initiated as a Brahmin. Okay.
You won't, if you're not serving on the altar, you won't be initiated as a Brahmin.
Yes.
Okay.
So, of course, we know that one does not need to become a Brahmin in order to go back to Godhead. But at the same time, Srila Prabhupada expected devotees to become Brahmins. In fact, Srila Prabhupada wanted the whole world to become Brahmins. And if Srila Prabhupada wanted the whole world to become Brahmins, does that mean that everybody in the world is now going to be serving on the altar? So my question is, if I have my guru and my guru is asking me to do this, and I want to take Brahmin initiation, but this is the requirement he's asking from me or of me, and I'm unable to do it, and therefore I'm unable to please him. And since I'm unable to please him, how am I going to be able to get the transcendental knowledge? Because the transcendental knowledge, like we read, Srila Prabhupada is saying, it's not just becoming a grammarian. It has to be revealed. Now, somebody will have to help you understand it. And the person who will help me understand it has to be pleased. And I'm unable to please him because of his requests or demands. And so in such a situation, how does the disciple actually receive the revealed knowledge?
Well, I'm not sure if you're giving just a theoretical there, but you know, the benefits of having a guru in the flesh, you know, and is that they can give instructions, and sometimes they'll give different instructions to different people, right? And so naturally, it's the prerogative of the guru to have their own certain flavor, right, within within their mission, right? But I definitely think for that disciple, first I would ask, what's the definition of an altar? You know, can we have a home altar? Is that out of the picture? But it's you know, asking you know, is that a hard and fast rule, right? And I'm pretty sure that guru is going to find some level of reciprocation where that devotee can serve in his best capacity, right? As if that's only one instruction, I'm sure that's not the only thing this person is saying. There's probably 1,000 other things. And if he can tap into one of those lanes, one of those instructions, one of those avenues, it's that service level that will help him, and Paramatma will never leave him in terms of that knowledge assimilation, as long as he's being sincere, chaste to the process, etc. I mean, we have to think about it. You know, Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna disagreed on what should happen with the battle of Kurukshetra, who should be king. So that's, you know, that's naturally going to always be there, even in the spiritual world, right? There's going to be different tug of wars, right? And so it's how do we approach it? And I think the answer becomes more clear the more advanced we get, the more pure our consciousness gets. It's going to be very evident for the disciple what to do.
All right. Well, thank you. But as I recall,
I would love to hear your answer, though, because I know you already had the answer.
No, I don't have an answer. That's what I'm asking.
No.
But I'm just recalling a statement His Holiness Chandramali Maharaj said some time ago on this particular platform. Nobody asked him a question in that regard, but he was speaking and he said that, and that is what makes the guru special, because the guru assesses the disciples and understands what the disciple is capable of, what the disciple is not capable of, and then instructs. So
Yes.
the guru aims first before he shoots. There are many times some people will shoot before they aim. So the spiritual master will assess if this disciple is capable of doing this, and then he will instruct him. And also, with the instruction comes the power to make it happen. But like I said, I do not want to mention names. Some do not do that. And so if a disciple has a guru like that, then it becomes a little bit of a problem for such a disciple to grow. This is to my estimation.
Yeah.
To Madhavan Prabhu. Unless you have something to say in that.
Just one last point to that. I do think it brings up a good point of why, traditionally it would actually have close quarters with the guru for a while before formal diksha actually occurred. And some of those things should be vetted before, a formal relationship is taking place. Understanding from the other disciples what's expected, what's not expected. But again, if somebody's getting real inspiration, and there could be some gray area, but it's understanding the expectations of the guru is very important before going there.
Yeah. My suggestion to such gurus is that, do you tell your Diksha disciples at the time of Harinam initiation that, hey, if you're taking Harinam initiation, this is what you should expect when you want to take Brahmin initiation? I don't know if they do that, but I think it would be nice for them to do that.
Yeah.
The disciples will decide at that point,
So nobody's caught off guard.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sri Govinda.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, please accept my respectful obeisances. Sorry, my voice is choked, kind of. Forgive me. Yeah, Prabhu, my question is in regards to...
Madhavan Prabhu will come to you, okay? Sorry. Go ahead, Govinda Prabhu.
It's in regards to Sadhu Prabhu's interesting questions. And the last question that we are still deliberating on about the gurus and the disciples and the instructions given, and sometimes the disciple is not capable of carrying on to that instruction, and the guru maybe modified the instruction for the disciples to be able to cope. But sorry, I do know that for one to progress in anything requires some kind of test, some kind of examination. So where do we determine when guru is testing us in terms of giving instructions? I will be comfortable doing book distribution, and for guru to bless me, he may decide to test me and say, drop your book distribution, go and farm. How would I know that guru is testing me? And if I don't know the guru is testing me, then all I would do is to tell the guru, I'm more comfortable doing this. I believe this is my inspiration, and this is what I can do best. And then as soon as I say that, means I fail. And the guru will definitely have to give me something else to do. But in actuality, he wanted to test my faith in him. How do I determine if guru is testing me or not under such circumstances?
Yeah, I think it's a great point, right? I think it's I personally feel like all situations in life where you have to make a decision is a test, right? It's how do you know which way to go? In terms of the guru, I do think that before one says I can't do it, they should, like you said, they should really try to execute upon it if possible, right? Execute upon it, see what doors open. There's been so many stories of people getting to the success that they ultimately get to, but it's not a straight path, right? It's going left, right, up, down. But they realize if it wasn't for that initial request, they never would have got to the end goal, right? And so trying as much as possible in that path and then relaying your struggles to the guru, I think is the safest method. Now, if it's something that you just 100% know that, this is not going to work, right? that's yeah. I think you just really have to discuss with guru. But I do feel like you should try to go with that first path of try as much, and the guru Paramatma will open doors.
Yeah, I asked the question because Krishna says in the Gita that one is better one perform his duty.
Yes.
Not perfect,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
to rather perform someone's duties so perfectly.
Yes.
And so if a guru give me an instruction and within myself, I know I cannot even do it.
And you bring up a really good point. That's a really good point. I do think that's something that when we're doing our community building, that it should be taken to account more, right? Is like, what is the nature of that individual on their path in devotion, right? It's like, he didn't tell Arjuna to just, start growing different crops, right? He said, you have to fight. You're a Kshatriya. You need to fight, right? So let's say you're Kshatriya and then your guru is telling you to farm. That's an awkward situation, or vice versa, right? But there are times in the scriptures that say, if it's an emergency, you can do it, but immediately after the emergency is done, go back to your natural duty, right? Krishna says that in the 11th canto when he's describing Varnashram, right? So temporarily it's okay, but it's ideally not. You want to find something that is aligned to your nature while in this body. And I do feel like sometimes that is overlooked to our own detriment as a society, because it's people's natural gifts. We need to enhance people's natural gifts into the service of community development and Vaishnavas. Thank you for bringing that up. It's a great point.
Yeah, thank you very much. You also remind me of Gurudev so much today. Your voice, your voice is so powerful. It's just like, our spiritual master.
Whenever I see you guys, I think the same thing. I don't even want to talk in front of you all.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Madhavan Prabhu, please unmute. Hare Krishna, thank you for the patience. You're still muted, Prabhuji. Madhavan. Hare Krishna, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. This our discussion reminds me of a story when Srila Prabhupada sent a disciple on Sunday to the post office. So when the Srila Prabhupada sent the disciple, it looked quite awkward. I said, but today is Sunday, but of course, the disciple, he has to take the instruction of the spiritual master. So he went to the post office, even though it was Sunday, but somehow or the other, by Krishna's arrangement, he just met the postmaster. And the postmaster now saw him and said, gentleman, what do you want to do? He said, I want to post this letter. He just
it's frozen.
Took it, and that was it. So from else to come into my life. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So
we lost you again.
Yeah, the person is just disturbing me.
Oh, somebody's calling you on the line.
Yes, it's just interrupting my line. I'm so I'm so unfortunate.
You're on a roll.
Well, okay, go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
So from this narration, whatever instruction our guru give us, we should just take it like that. And once we take it, of course, we'll be able to do it. So I think that was Prabhupada was telling us, or that is what we should understand.
Yes.
There are other stories like that when a guru will give instruction and the instruction will be very, very awkward. But somehow or the other, because the disciple just take it like that and faithfully, he will be able to achieve that specific goal. Hare Krishna.
No, it's such a good point, and that's the essence of what you were saying is what I felt when Gurudev says everyone can control their senses. I was like, okay, it seems impossible, but the fact that he said it, I know the Shakti is there. So let's go.
Well, thank you, Madhavan Prabhu. But Prabhuji, Sri Palaka Prabhu, I think what Madhavan Prabhu just shared with us is completely different from my concern. Sri Prabhupada sending somebody to go to the post office on Sunday when the devotee knows that the post office does not open on Sundays is not the same as someone, for example, who is a grihasta with children, not living in the temple, and the spiritual master asking the disciple to abandon whatever he's doing and then go serve on the altar permanently. And the temple is also not going to give you a dime to take care of your wife and children.
Oh, so in that scenario, you weren't talking about a once a week thing?
So, I mean, what Madhava Prabhu described is, well, it's you've just been sent. Just go. It's going to be possible or not,
Your guru will not give you instruction that you cannot achieve. He will not give you such an instruction. Our guru, they will not give such instruction when they know it's impossible for you. You abandon your family, they are not going to give you. So even if you decide to do it, they won't allow you to abandon your family.
Well, I gave that particular as an example, but what I'm trying to say is that just like I referenced His Holiness Chandra Mali Maharaj, and that the guru will have to know the capabilities of the disciple before he instructs, because there is this pastime where Srila Prabhupada had told all the disciples not to divorce, and one disciple divorced the wife and approached Srila Prabhupada to remarry. And Srila Prabhupada gave him his blessings. So the disciples were surprised. So Srila Prabhupada, what's going on? You told us we should not be doing this, and this devotee has done this, and we have informed you. Yet you gave him the green light. And Srila Prabhupada said yes. If I had told him not to remarry, he still was going to remarry. And that would have been a curse on him, disobeying the orders of the spiritual master. So in order not to implicate him more, I said, yeah, go ahead. But that is not what I expect of you, that just divorce. If there are different situations around divorce, which we cannot discuss now. But what I'm trying to say is that the spiritual master, like Madhava Prabhu is saying, that the spiritual master will not say something like that to a disciple. But I'm here as the devil's advocate, that should a situation like that arise, what should the disciple do? What should the organization, the entire organization do? So, of course, that we're not going to discuss it here today, but
yeah, no, I do think it's a really great question. And sorry, I couldn't hear the other Prabhu's whole story, but
he was
it was, you know, I do think the proper way is just to really address the guru, especially something that strict of, you know, giving up everything and going on the altar, not altar every 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, and just say, I don't feel like I could do it, you know, if they really feel like it, but really make sure they are trying as much as possible. But, you know, revealing the mind to the guru.
Actually, I have a personal example in this case, because my Gurudev once had asked me to go to one temple to be the president. And I assessed myself that I could not become the president. So I told him, Secretary, I'm sorry, I cannot do this. Can you imagine telling my Gurudev I cannot? But I was being frank. And he encouraged me. He says, you can do it. And again, I said, no. Again, even when I came to Gidanagri here, I was taking care of the gopis. And then at some point, the chief pujari told Gurudev that Sahadev can take care of Radha Damodara. And so Gurudev called me and told me. And that also I denied. I said, no, Gurudev. No. And Gurudev agreed with me. So if you have a guru who can accept your level and try to walk you through gradually, it's very encouraging. Much more than a guru who would just want to push you there, and probably the divine support might not be there also. And in this case, the disciple may lose his spiritual life completely. So to me, it's a concern. And thank Guru and Krishna, I didn't have that and I don't have that. My Guru never dealt with me that way. So, but sometimes I have concern for other disciples, other devotees whose gurus give general instructions, which is actually incapable to be followed in these modern days, in this material world. That is where I'm coming from, but we'll not go into details. But thank you. Chakra Prabhu has a question. Maybe after this, Prabhuji may leave because he has a very limited time to speaking on this platform today. Chakra Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for that elaborate and detailed explanation of the service of the verse. Yeah, what I'm trying to say, I'm just going with what Madhavan Prabhu just said, which practically we experience it too. And like the way Madhavan Prabhu described it, to us, we know. And I think those Ghanaian devotees on the platform would know that there used to be a photo studio, a circle. And one time Gurudev was there and he took some pictures from there. And one Sunday he asked us to go get the pictures. But right on the door of the studio, it's written that working hours, Monday to Saturday, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sundays closed. And yet, Sunday morning, Gurudev asked us to go and get the pictures. And so I'm not going to mention them. One of the senior devotees that we were with said, Gurudev, that place is closed on Sunday. They don't open. And Gurudev said, yeah, I know, but try it. Maybe they may be open. And of course, we were driving from official town to circle. It's a distance, but well, it's not like huge. It's quite a distance. So we started the journey. Then along the way, this senior man that we were moving with said, "This is a wasted effort. When we get there, we're going to just drive, waste fuel, and come back for nothing." So he suggested that, well, why don't we just park somewhere, wait a little bit, and go back and say the person was not there? this thing I'm talking about is very serious issue. So we parked the car while we were sitting down. Then that same senior devotee said, "No, move. I think this is a serious guru apparat. This is very serious guru apparat. Let's just go." So he moved. He was the one driving. He moved the car, and we went. And lo and behold, when we got there, the manager was closing the door.
No. Wow.
And we stopped him and said, "Oh, our Guru Maharaj has some pictures here," and he said, "Oh, okay." He opened the door again and got us the pictures. And the manager said, "Well, you guys are very lucky because we don't work on Sunday. But I left something in the office and I was coming to pick it up."
Wow. Wow.
So you can imagine this. This would have been a very serious guru apparat.
Yeah. That's a great one.
Yeah, because so sometimes maybe the guru, sometimes they give us some instructions. In the initial stages, it might look very difficult, but deep behind it, subtly, maybe the guru had already supplied the mercy.
Yes.
He just wants you to try. Just try.
Yes. You know what? That's a great story. I never heard that one. Thanks for sharing that. It reminds me of a story now that you're talking about that fits in this scenario. I don't know if I shared it this last time, but one day Gurudev came up to my mom and my sister and I, and he asked us, this is back when I was in college, dead broke, like dead, like in debt broke, you know? I'd be lucky if I had $20 to my name. I was probably like 21, and Gurudev comes up to us and he goes, "Hey, I would like you all to sponsor the Spiritual Warrior 6 book." And we all looked at each other and looked at him like, "Hey, we would like to sponsor it too if we had some money." You know? And he was just like, "Yeah, it's like this amount is like, you know, several thousand." And I'm like thinking, I'm like, Gurudev, luckily if I have $20 in my account right now, you know? And so we didn't have the money at all, but Gurudev like came over and asked us like very clearly. And, you know, when we said no, we were just like, yeah, we don't really have money, you know, or we would give it, but we don't have anything. You know, he kind of looked like puzzled for a second, like, "Really? You don't have it?" I was like, "No." And then out of nowhere, some weeks later, my grandfather ended up doing like a reverse mortgage on his home, gave us each a few $1,000s, and it was the exact amount that Gurudev asked for. And so I actually forgot about Gurudev asking for the money because that was like weeks later, you know. And then me and my sister and my mom were like, "Oh yeah, we got these checks." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm about to do this. And they were like, "Hold on, this is like what Gurudev was asking about." I was like, "Oh, it sure is, isn't it?" And so we gave him the money, and it was the exact amount. And it was just like, how did that happen, right? Because face value, it was just like, okay, Gurudev, you came to the wrong person. You got the wrong message. You know, hey. But then all of a sudden it manifested. And so following the order of a guru, so I do believe there's a Shakti that many times can occur. But I also acknowledge the sensitivities around, you know, people really feel like they should address it, you know. But yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah. Thank you all devotees for the sharings. And in fact, Palaka Prabhu, the answer to this question we running around, you answered to me so perfectly. And that is, no matter how difficult the order may be, one should initially try and attempt carrying it out. And after carrying it out, if it's possible, because that is not like your nature, but your guru will know and see that you made the effort. And then if you have to go back to your natural duty, you go back. If you do not go back, at least the guru knows and sees that you made the effort. So thank you for sharing that. And the devotees, thank you all for your sharings and contributions. It makes this very wonderful kata. And on that note, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our sincere appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace Palaka Prabhu. Palaka Prabhu, I don't know if you have any concluding words.
Sorry, what was that? Any what?
Any concluding words to end the class?
Oh, no, just thank you for allowing me to share and have your Sangha. I truly appreciate it, and let's all share the love of Guru via Guru Nitai with everyone. Thank you.
I think I saw Krishna Shakti here briefly. Is she still here? I think she disappeared.
Yes,
Well,
I'm here. I just arrived in
Hare
Zanzibar.
Krishna. Hey, Haribol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Good to see you.
Good to see you all.
Yeah. You know, I'm a good hunter. So I'm going to hunt for you. And you become a prey someday on this platform. I'm a predator. Hey, Krishna, thank you, devotees. So, devotees, please, you may all unmute and we all chant Hare Krishna. Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Rama Rama,
Jai
Hare
Vantaka Vacha, Vacha, Vachitanam, Aurabhyo, Vaishnavibhyo, Namo Namo.
Namo Namo.
Thank you.
All His Grace Palaka Prabhu ki
Oh,
jai.
thank you.
Hare Still Mother Mohini Devi ki
Jai.
jai.
Haribo.
Have a great day. Thank you all.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.